There is this specific kind of quiet panic that sets in on a Tuesday night. You are sitting on the couch, maybe scrolling through your phone, watching a show, trying to decompress from the day, and then your thumb just hovers over the banking app icon. You know you shouldn't look. You know that looking at it isn't going to change the number, but you do it anyway. You tap it. You wait that agonizing second for the little loading circle to spin. And then there it is. The number. It is lower than you thought it would be. It is always lower than you thought it would be. You check the transactions. $12 here, $30 there, a subscription you forgot about, a dinner out that seemed necessary at the time. You lean back into the cushions and you just think, how? I work hard. I make a decent living. Where is it all going? And it is not just you. We all know that person. We might be that person who makes a perfectly good salary, maybe even a great one, yet feels like they are constantly running on a financial treadmill. You are sprinting, sweating, lungs burning, but you never actually move forward. Meanwhile, you probably know someone else, maybe a guy you went to school with or a coworker who earns the exact same amount you do. They do not seem to be stressing. They talk about weekends away, or they bought a house, or they are just calm. It is infuriating, is not it? It feels like they got a rulebook that you did not get. It feels like there is a secret cheat code to life that you have not found yet. My name is Jack, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck in the same financial patterns for decades. And honestly, after years of looking at this, analyzing the differences, and talking to people on both sides of that coin, I have realized something that is actually kind of comforting. It usually is not about who is smarter. It is not about who has a better degree or who got lucky in the stock market. The difference between the person who is broke and the person who is a millionaire on the same salary is rarely a matter of math. It is a matter of behavior. We are going to take a deep dive into that divergence today. We are going to look at the subtle, almost invisible ways that our brains trick us into spending, and the small shifts in perspective that can turn a paycheck into a fortune. And I am not going to give you the usual stop drinking avocado toast advice because, honestly, that is noise. We are going to talk about the real stuff. The psychological stuff. The stuff that, if you really get it, does not just change your bank account, it changes your entire life. So, let us start with the most obvious yet most ignored culprit, the gap. You have probably heard the phrase keep up with the Joneses, but I think that is a bit of a misnomer because it implies that we are trying to impress our neighbors. And sure, maybe in the 1950s that was true. But today? We are not trying to keep up with the people next door. We are trying to keep up with a curated, hallucinated version of reality that exists on a 6-inch screen in our pocket. Imagine two people. Let us call them Sarah and Mike. They both get hired at the same tech firm. They both start at $75,000 a year. Solid start. They live in similar apartments, drive similar cars. But here is where the paths split. Sarah gets her first raise. A nice bump to $90,000. She feels good. She thinks, I deserve this. I've been working hard. And she does deserve it. But her brain immediately does something called lifestyle creep. It is this automatic response where she thinks, okay, I can afford a better place now. I can afford the nicer car. I can afford to order seamless whenever I do not feel like cooking. And she moves into a place with a view, upgrades her lease, and suddenly her expenses have eaten up that entire $15,000 raise. She feels richer because her lifestyle looks more expensive, but her net worth has not moved an inch. In fact, it might have gone down because her fixed costs are higher. Mike gets the same raise. He is still living in the same slightly cramped one-bedroom apartment. He is still driving the Honda Civic with 100,000 miles on it. He looks at that extra money and does not see a new TV. He sees options. He sees freedom. He takes a chunk of that raise, let us say half, and he puts it into an investment account before he ever has a chance to touch it. He automates it. He never sees the money, so he never misses it. Fast forward 5 years. Sarah is making $110,000. She is stressed. She has a car payment that makes her wince every month, and her closet is full of clothes she rarely wears. She looks rich on paper, but she feels broke. Mike is making $110,000 too. He is still driving the Civic. But he has a portfolio that is quietly compounding in the background. He is not rich yet, maybe not by textbook standards, but he is calm. He sleeps better than Sarah. The difference is not the salary. It is the gap between what they earn and what they spend. And this is hard. It is incredibly hard because we live in a culture that screams at us to consume. You open Instagram, you open TikTok, and it is just an endless stream of people telling you what you need to buy to be happy. It is a subtle form of psychological warfare. It makes you feel that your current life, that the perfectly functional life you have right now, is somehow inadequate. The broke person buys things to impress people they do not even like. The millionaire buys time. The broke person buys the thing. The millionaire buys the source of the thing. I was walking through downtown the other day just grabbing a coffee and I saw this guy pull up in a Ferrari. Beautiful car. I mean, it looked like a spaceship. And naturally, everyone turned their heads. We all looked. And for a second, I felt that little pang of envy. You know the one? It is that visceral, gut reaction of I want that. But then I watched him park. He was struggling to maneuver this massive machine into a tight spot, sweating a little, hyper-aware of everyone watching him. And I thought to myself, is that freedom? Or is that a cage? Because here is the truth that nobody likes to admit. High status often makes you poor. It costs a lot of money to look like you have a lot of money. The millionaire on the same salary usually looks average. They look boring. They are the ones wearing the plain t-shirt, living in the modest neighborhood. They do not have the shiny watch because they know the shiny watch costs $10,000, but invested over 20 years, that $10,000 turns into $50,000 or $100,000. They do the math in their head. They look at the watch and they do not see a status symbol. They see a small chunk of their life that they spent working, which they are now trading away for a piece of metal on their wrist. It just does not add up for them. This brings us to the next major point, and it is one that is a little uncomfortable to talk about because it hits close to home. It is the concept of financial pain. We all have a different threshold for pain when it comes to spending. Some people feel a literal pinch in their chest when they spend $5 on a coffee. Others can drop $200 on a dinner without blinking an eye, but then agonize over a $10 parking ticket. It is irrational. It is completely emotional. And the broke person is usually being driven entirely by these emotions. Think about the last time you made a purchase that you regretted. Was it because you logically calculated that you needed that item? Or was it because you were sad or tired or maybe just a little bored? We use retail therapy as a way to soothe our brains. We get a hit of dopamine when we click buy. Feels good for about 10 minutes. And then the thing arrives or the reality sets in, and the dopamine fades, leaving us with the same hole we were trying to fill plus a credit card bill. The person who builds wealth on a modest salary has learned to detach their self-worth from their spending. They have figured out that the Joneses, they are not winning. The Joneses are probably up at 2 a.m. worrying about their mortgage. The millionaire mind realizes that every dollar spent is a soldier sent away to fight for someone else's army. When you spend money, you are sending your time, your life force, out into the world to work for Amazon or the car dealership or the bank. When you keep money, when you invest it, you are hiring soldiers to come work for you. It is a shift from being a consumer to being an owner. That sounds like corporate jargon, but it is actually deeply personal. Let me tell you a story about two friends of mine. Let us call them James and Lucas. They are both graphic designers. They work freelance so their income fluctuates, but on average they make about the same amount annually. James is a classic feast or famine spender. When he lands a big contract, he feels like a king. He takes the client check and immediately the mental wish list comes out. New computer. New sneakers. Trip to Vegas. He treats the money like it is infinite. But then, inevitably, the freelance work dries up for a few weeks. He panics. He dips into savings. He puts groceries on a credit card. He is constantly riding this roller coaster of high highs and low lows. It is exhausting. It affects his work. He takes bad clients because he needs the cash. Lucas? Same exact job. But he lives on his average month. When he has a great month, he does not touch the extra. He keeps his lifestyle fixed at a level he can afford even in a bad month. The surplus goes into a buffer, an emergency fund, and then into investments. When a slow month comes around, Lucas does not blink. He pays his bills, he keeps working, and he is not desperate. Desperation has a smell, you know? Clients can smell it. James reeks of desperation sometimes, so he gets lower pay. Lucas smells like stability, so he commands higher rates. Do you see the feedback loop? James broke himself by spending the surplus, which made him desperate, which lowered his income. Lucas made himself richer by saving the surplus, which gave him confidence, which raised his income. They are doing the same job, but one is slowly sinking and the other is slowly rising. The mechanic of that change was entirely internal. And this leads to something that I think is the absolute silent killer of wealth, the inability to delay gratification. I know. You hear this all the time. Save for the future. It sounds like a lecture from your grandpa, but let us look at it through a different lens. We live in an era of instant everything. You want to watch a movie? Click. You want food? DoorDash. You want a product? Amazon Prime next day delivery. We are conditioning our brains to crave now. The broke person is addicted to now. The millionaire is addicted to later. This is not just about money. It is a fundamental philosophical difference. When you buy something on credit, Let us say you buy a $2,000 TV on a credit card with 20% APR, you are not just buying a TV. You are agreeing to work for the credit card company for the next year or two to pay the interest. You are saying, I want this screen so badly that I am willing to be a slave to this debt for months. It is a trade of your future freedom for present comfort. The millionaire mindset says, I can wait. If they want that TV, they will save up $2,000. It might take them 3 months. And while they are waiting, they are earning interest on that money, not paying interest. But more importantly, during those 3 months, the impulse usually fades. They realize they did not really need the TV that badly. They realize that the satisfaction of having the money in the bank is actually better than the fleeting joy of a new gadget. It is a quiet, secret satisfaction that nobody sees but you. Feels like you have a superpower. There is also a huge misunderstanding about what rich actually looks like. We have been brainwashed by pop culture. In movies, the rich guy is always in the tuxedo, stepping out of the helicopter, pouring champagne. In real life, the guy getting out of the helicopter is usually an employee or a celebrity. The actual rich guy, the guy with the millions in the bank, is often the guy in the background wearing the jeans and the polo shirt who nobody notices. I remember reading about this study. Honestly, I cannot recall the university off the top of my head, but the findings stuck with me where they surveyed millionaires. They asked them what car they drove. The number one answer was not Mercedes or BMW. It was Toyota, then Ford, then Honda. The majority of millionaires in this country did not get rich by looking rich. They got rich by acting broke while everyone else was trying to act rich. It is like this inverted pyramid. At the bottom, you have all the people who are deeply in debt, living in the biggest houses they can qualify for, driving the most expensive cars they can lease. They look like they are at the top of the pyramid. Then in the middle, you have the people who are living within their means, maybe saving a little. And at the very, very top of the pyramid, the actual peak, you have the people who look like they are in the middle. They are invisible. So, if you are sitting there feeling like you are doing something wrong because you cannot afford the lifestyle you see online, stop. You are looking at the bottom of the pyramid pretending to be the top. The real winners are the ones who have stopped playing the game of appearances entirely. And let us talk about the B word. A budget. I know, grown, right? Budget feels like diet. It feels like restriction. Feels like saying no to everything fun. But here is the secret. A budget is not about restricting yourself. A budget is about liberating yourself. If you do not have a budget, your money is like a leaky bucket. You pour water in at the top, your paycheck, and it just dribbles out through holes you cannot even see. Subscriptions you forgot about. Bank fees. Overpriced groceries. Impulse buys. You stand there and wonder, where did the water go? The person who becomes a millionaire on a modest salary does not necessarily budget down to the penny, though some do. But what they do have is intentionality. They tell their money where to go before it has a chance to leave. When you give every dollar a job, you regain control of your life. When you say, hey, this $100 is going to my freedom fund, you change the relationship you have with that money. It is not just purchasing power anymore. It is a builder. It is a brick in the wall between you and disaster. There is a profound sense of peace that comes from knowing exactly where you stand. The broke person lives in a fog of financial ignorance. They do not check the balance because they are afraid. Fear thrives in the dark. When you shine a light on it, when you write it down, the fear shrinks. I think we also have to talk about the role of luck and circumstance because I do not want to pretend it is all just sheer willpower. Some people have medical debt. Some people have student loans that are crushing. Some people are supporting parents or siblings. That is real. That happens. And if you are dealing with that, it is incredibly heavy and the path is steeper for you. But even in those scenarios, the mindset shift is the only lifeline. If you are in a deep hole, the person who keeps digging is the one who thinks, I need this comfort right now. The person who climbs out inch by agonizing inch is the one who says, I will suffer today so I do not have to suffer tomorrow. It is a brutal trade, but it is the only one that works. Another aspect of this that fascinates me is the concept of financial scars. Everyone has them. Maybe your parents fought about money when you were a kid. Maybe you grew up with nothing and swore you would never feel that insecurity again, so you overspend to feel safe. Maybe you grew up with everything and never learned how to earn. We act out these patterns subconsciously. The broke person is often reacting to a past version of themselves. The millionaire is acting for a future version of themselves. Let me give you a specific example of how this plays out in daily life, the latte effect debate. You have probably heard financial gurus scream, stop buying coffee. That $5 coffee is costing you $1 million. And technically, mathematically, if you compound that $5 a day over 40 years, yeah, it is a lot of money. But honestly, that advice misses the point. If that coffee is the one moment of joy in your day, if it is a ritual that keeps you sane, buy the coffee. The millionaire on a modest salary buys the coffee too, sometimes. The difference is that they are not buying the $5 coffee and the $15 lunch and the $8 smoothie and the $30 Uber ride and the random Amazon purchase and the new shirt they do not need. It is not the coffee. It is the cumulative effect of 1,000 small decisions where you said yes to comfort without asking, is this worth my freedom? The broke person optimizes for the moment. The millionaire optimizes for the decade. I was talking to a guy recently who retired at 40. He was not a tech genius. He was a mid-level manager at a logistics company. He made a good salary but not a crazy one. I asked him what was the one thing. And he laughed. He said it was not one thing. It was saying no for 10 years. He told me about how his friends would go on these elaborate bachelor parties to Vegas or Miami. Drop $3,000 in a weekend. He would skip them. Or he would go for just one night. His friends gave him a hard time. They called him cheap. They told him he was missing out on life. And sure, for a few weekends he missed out. But while they were paying off those weekends for the next 6 months on credit cards, he was investing that money. Now he is 40. He is sitting on a beach or whatever he wants to do. His friends? They are still working. They are still in debt. They are still paying for the good times they had a decade ago. Who was missing out on life, really? The guy who skipped a few parties, or the guys who sold their future self for a weekend in Vegas? It is a hard pill to swallow because it requires you to be okay with being misunderstood. It requires you to be okay with people thinking you are cheap or boring. You have to be the weirdo who brings a lunch to work. You have to be the person who suggests a hike instead of a fancy dinner. But once you taste the freedom of having screw you money in the bank, money that means if your boss is abusive you can walk, if you get sick you can focus on healing, if the market crashes you can sleep, you stop caring what people think about your Honda Civic. There is also a hidden advantage to living this way. When you stop caring about material status, your relationships change. The broke person often hangs out with other broke people, and they bond over complaining about being broke. The millionaire hangs out with people who are also trying to build something. The energy is different. It is positive. It is forward-looking. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your friends are all obsessed with buying the newest iPhone, you are going to want the newest iPhone. If your friends are obsessed with maximizing their 401k match, you are going to care about your 401k match. This sounds like small stuff, but it is the architecture of your life. Let us zoom out for a second and look at the trajectory. If you are currently the person who is broke on a good salary, please hear this. You are not a bad person. You are not stupid. You are just playing a game you were not taught the rules for. We are bombarded with 5,000 advertisements a day. The algorithm knows your insecurities. It knows you are tired. It knows you want to feel successful. It is a machine designed to separate you from your money. The person who breaks the cycle is the one who wakes up. It is the one who says, hold on. I'm not a piggy bank for corporations. I am a human being with a limited amount of time. It starts with awareness. Just look at your last 3 months of spending. Do not judge it. Just look at it. See the story it tells. Are you buying happiness? Are you buying convenience? Or are you just buying out of habit? Once you see the story, you can rewrite it. You do not have to cut everything out. That is how people fail. They go too hard, too fast, and then they binge spend. You just have to start cutting the things that do not matter to you so you can afford the things that do. Maybe you realize you do not care about expensive clothes, but you love travel. Great. So you wear the same jeans for 3 years, but you take a trip to Italy once a year. That is not deprivation. That is prioritization. That is living richly on a budget. The millionaire on the same salary is not happier because they have more zeros in their bank account. They are happier because their money aligns with their values. They are not constantly fighting a war between what they want and what they do. And look, money is not the most important thing in the world. It is not. Relationships, health, purpose, those are all more important. But money touches every single one of those things. Money problems destroy marriages. Money stress ruins your health. Lack of money limits your ability to pursue your purpose. Taking control of your finances is not about becoming a Scrooge. It is about protecting the parts of life that actually matter. If you are sitting there, feeling the weight of your own choices, feeling like you have messed it up, remember this. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. You cannot change the subscriptions you signed up for last year. You cannot take back the dinners out. But you can change everything starting today. You can decide right now, in this moment, that you are going to be the millionaire. Not the guy in the Ferrari, but the guy with the peace. The guy with the options. The guy who sleeps like a baby at night. It is not magic. It is not a secret formula. It is just 1,000 tiny decisions to value your future self over your present impulses. It is looking at that extra $50 at the end of the month and sending it to work for you instead of buying a meal that will be forgotten in 20 minutes. It feels small. It feels insignificant. But that is the magic of compounding, not just of interest but of habits. A good habit is like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts tiny. You can barely see it. But you keep pushing it. You keep adding to it. And eventually, without you even realizing how it happened, it becomes an avalanche. It becomes a life that you designed, not one that was sold to you. So, the next time you open that banking app and you feel that knot in your stomach, pause. Do not just look at the number. Look at the pattern. And then pick one thing. Just one thing to change. Maybe it is one subscription you cancel. Maybe it is one lunch you make at home. Start the snowball. Because the only difference between the broke person and the millionaire on the same salary is that the millionaire started rolling the snowball a long time ago. You have the power to start yours right now. And honestly, that is the most exciting feeling in the world.